Welcome to episode 554 of the Grit to Greatness Endurance Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Soares, and I am here on a mission with Ivan O'Gorman to help endurance athletes train smarter, race stronger, and build the grit it takes to achieve greatness. Seriously, folks, in this episode, we're going to be diving into the impact of the professional bike fit and why it's one of the most important investments that you can make as an endurance athlete. From eliminating nagging discomfort to unlocking sustainable power and preventing injury, a proper bike fit will influence every pedal stroke. So we're here with Ivan O'Gorman. We're in your studio, buddy. This is
Here we
a
are,
beautiful place.
where it happens. Yeah, no, it's wonderful to have you, Rich. You're welcome, and welcome to the audience. Pleasure to have you in here. Yeah, this is something we're very passionate about, and we've built this business up over the last 15 or so years, and we get to be a very small but hopefully important part of all of our athletes' journeys. So it's I can't wait to dive into some of the questions you might have and help the audience maybe get a little nugget or two of information, hopefully.
Well, and that's where I'd like to start. I'd like for the audience to get to know you, and we sometimes play this game. Maybe you'll play with me here. 2 truths and a lie.
Sure.
You good with that? All right.
Yeah.
So how about 3 statements about yourself, 2 of which are true, 1 is a lie. I'll try to guess what the lie is.
Okay, I'm from Ireland. I have qualified for Kona 10 years in a row, and I have the fastest Ironman triathlon time on the books.
Okay. Well, fastest Ironman triathlon time in the books, right? That's a
Irish triathlon.
Irish. Oh, okay. All right. Let's go with that as the lie.
You're correct. You're correct. There's a lot faster than me out there.
But qualified for Kona, the Ironman World Championship 2 times in a row.
That's true. Absolutely, yeah. And look, it's down to consistency, right? And I suppose walking in those shoes and then being able to help athletes who are on similar journeys is kind of part of the fun of it, right? And I think working with athletes from when I was new to this sport and this industry of bike fit, to be able to help those athletes learn the craft and be actually walking the walk myself. So if I, outran Lionel in a marathon because he had a bad day, but you were working with him, a couple of weeks after or before, I think that was a unique position to be in, So definitely it's kind of like practice what you preach. And I'm Irish, and my wife and I took a leap of faith to come here and work with the bike fitting technology company for 6 months. With 2 bikes and 2 bags, and that was 16 years ago.
Wow.
So we've certainly made a life of it, and we're in a community here in Boulder where we are amongst our clients, and we see them on the road, on the trails, at the schools, and so on. So I feel very, lucky to be involved in something that I'm passionate about, and apparently I have some ability and capability in. But the triathlon stuff was amazing. It was a really cool chapter, and I'm grateful for all the lessons that it has taught me as an athlete that vary from time management to planning to understanding recovery to understanding the cascade of events when things are going wrong and right. So, that's your 2 truths and a lie.
No? Okay. That's fine.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, doesn't matter. I'll just cut that out. All right. So one of the things that I wanted to do, part of my vision with talking to you was, one, I needed a bike fit myself personally. I wanted to be able to help our audience, like I said, the intro, understand kind of the importance of doing a bike fit and how it can benefit you. And maybe we could just talk about that. Like, what are some of the problems you're trying to solve with with an athlete that comes into your shop here?
Yeah, it's interesting, I suppose. When you work with an athlete for the first time, essentially there are a couple of key components to a bike fit. You've been through it. Rich is a paying, highly valued customer here at IUG. And again, it's so important that you start the relationship off right. And what you're doing is you're starting with that, like, what's the rider's journey? Where are they planning on going? And how do you help them get there? So not too dissimilar to coaching. I think the main components are like you're auditing, firstly, what's going on. How did they arrive at that position? What do you see? And then you're looking for opportunities. And those opportunities can then be trialed in a controlled fashion. And the final part then is that you're looking for them to validate that on the road in training, under load, in events. And you've got to sign on as a bike fitter for the outcome. And once you sign on for the outcome, what you're then doing is you're ensuring that those riders are guided through that process. So that's the broad strokes. So if you end up going for a bike fit and it's like 90 minutes in and you don't hear from them again, that's probably not what we'd call a bike fit. And it also doesn't mean like that our sessions need to riders pay every time and all this. It's like they're paying for a body of work that's both like knowledge and practice, and then you have to like go through that with them. And if you're efficient on that execution and you know what to do at the first time and when to draw a line in the sand and come back to it and then go again, it works out great for both us as service providers, and also riders don't feel like there's any hole in the plan. So that's the broad stroke stuff. You asked about like maybe common fixes and complaints and so on. I think it wouldn't be sport unless there was some level of discomfort you're trying to solve for, some level of power output that you need to be aware of. You're managing that combination of athlete efficiency over a certain period of time. So again, you can kind of probably gauge the way I describe it and really treat it like an event, or what are you helping an athlete with? Because the studio is a very good controlled environment to gather data, and it can be repeatable and it can be a really good lens. But biomechanical data does not explicitly say like that you're most efficient in that position or that's the position to generate power. So be honest and open with your clients to say like, through this lens we can understand this, we don't know that. You can help us with that through your training and giving us that type of feedback. And it really is collaborative. And look, I feel if I do the job right, the rider learns a bit, has a higher understanding, can implement that in practice, both in training, breaks, racing, gravel, and then can circle back and say, here's what I found out, here's what I noticed. And then it's that combination of information and a bit of data that can again get us closer to the best possible outcome. So hopefully that'll give you an idea as to what I think a thorough bike fit approach should be.
It's kind of a journey. It's not a transaction. It's really kind of a journey, and you might not even know exactly where you're going to end up. You might have a theory on where you're going to end up, and you might make some different choices as you learn more about the athlete,
100%.
Their flexibility, what's comfortable, really perceptively comfortable.
Yeah, 100%. Because like there is a science and there's an art and there's an absorption or there's an adaptation, and riders have to kind of learn and give good quality feedback, and it's that. So yeah, I don't want to make it sound like it's too busy and it's fussy, but it has to be thorough, and signing on for that is the best way to get to the best outcomes, and you're right in calling it a transaction, and I would encourage your viewers that are going for bike fits to treat it like that and to understand like who they're going to, what's the reputation like, why is that guy this price and that girl that price and so on. Understand what you're getting and understand like what happens when it doesn't go right. Do I have access to follow-ups, or can I do this and do that? And just ask some questions and have them explain maybe the protocol and what it would look like. And I think then you straight away thin out 80% of some of the options available that mightn't work. So that might be a little bit of advice for your listeners.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that you have available to you that you use for a bike fit. Also want to talk about some of the athletes that you had come through here. What are some? I mean, I know we did a retool fit. Yeah. Is a retool fit going to be the same anywhere you go, or is it going to be?
They would love if it was, but of course it's not. I guess it's in the hands of like who's using it and the kind of base of knowledge behind it. It's a very high quality measuring device, and it's pour data in, pour data out. So the markers are important, how the process, the protocol that goes around it. I can't just give it to somebody who walks in off the street like they won't know what to do with it. There's no intelligence in it that's going to kind of tell the person what to do. So I would say, look, let's zoom back out for a second. What helps in good outcomes are repeatable data, same as like a power meter, okay? Somebody can get into the weeds about, this power meter brand is, less than 1% variability, and another one might be 3, and this power meter reads 240 and this one reads 250. It's more about the consistency of it and not so much like the differences of those, so that you can rely on that. So similarly, like you want, I think in fits, and it doesn't mean that you could go for a bike fit in your local market with somebody that doesn't have a lot of technology or any technology and you couldn't get to an outcome. You absolutely can get to a great outcome with somebody who's very experienced and they use some kind of basic tools and a good philosophy, so you can get there. So I'm not saying like that the higher the tech, the better the outcome. But I do think like to take out some subjective elements and to be a bit more accountable to objective data, that's where technology has its role. And then you can, so that's like looking at rider movement patterns. And Retool was the first in the game. It was actually the company I came to work with all those years ago.
Yeah.
So, I'm one of those, I guess what you call early adopters, and they and the athletes you were asking about would have absolutely had an enormous impact in my craft and what I learned on that journey. I had studied biomechanics, but other than that, to work with great coaches, great athletes, great academics that had kind of different ways to view how to, again, arrive at these outcomes was all part of the privilege that I had in learning my craft. So motion capture is great. There's always lots of new technology coming on the market because there's a willing appetite, right, to buy it, to sign up for it, to do this and that. I spent a ton of money myself on different products, from pressure mapping to, VO2 to, we've got different devices here that we've tried over the years, and maybe all devices in certain circumstances, some of which are very narrow, have a place. So I would say technology has its place, and it's just knowing when to use it is probably helpful. So that will kind of give you a broad view on that. I think again, there's some common, like there's widely accepted principles around good positioning, right? So you want riders in an athletic position that have, good hip extension, good hip hinge, can generate power, are underpinned with comfort. That's feet, seat, front end. That is suitable for the demands of competition, right? What does that mean? Well, if somebody is like riding to lose some weight and clear their head, that's what we're trying to aim for. If somebody's trying to like set a national time trial record or something, that's what they're aiming for, and so on. There's all these examples. So just understanding like what it is the objective and the position and the suitability for where the rider is and what they'll need to do. So some of your audience, I'm sure, are super up on performance. And if you do great power, but you have poor CDA, that's not going to cut the mustard, right? So we're lucky that we make it, I suppose, a point that no matter what the rider's intended goal is, then just make it our goal, and then it becomes interesting. So it's not like we get more excited because, Taylor Nib is coming in the door, or we get less excited if somebody comes in and they're in a pair of Havaianas and they've never clipped in. Like, you can have great fun, and you can actually, as you know, be a larger part of the journey for the person who's a lot more novice or getting back into it, or has put time into other parts of their lives and have neglected themselves, and now they want this. That can be oftentimes a lot more fun than trying to find those tiny little percentages or trying to help riders make an Olympic team. They're both incredible missions, right? But they're extremely different. So, but actually, you're still kind of going through similar protocols, and you're auditing, you're looking for opportunities, and then you're trying to execute. So it's the same thing. It's just the lower hanging fruit of a new rider or a younger rider is maybe a little bit easier. In ways, but they're both extremely fulfilling. Athletes that have influenced us, oh my gosh, the list is crazy.
Yeah, who's been through here? What jerseys do we have around the room?
And again, like, people say, who's your favorite athlete? Who's hard to work with? Who's funny? Like, they're all like children, right? Pick your favorites. But I mean, like, there are characters out there, Lachlan Morton in the gravel scene and the adventure scene, a guy who's, a big thinker and does it for his personal reasons, and him riding in the Giro or, a Grand Tour. It's kind of fine, but is it everything he wants to do? No, it wasn't, so that's kind of cool that he could dip in and out of a standard of performance like that. And then, I'm sure if a lot of your listeners are triathletes.
Oh yeah, a lot of them.
Okay.
Yep.
So like, clearly, like, you'll know the Rinnies, you'll know the Dave Scotts, you'll know Crowe, you'll know Lionel, you'll know Sam Long, you'll know Cam Worth. It's like we can, and I'm forgetting all the others. The
Oh,
Chelseas,
sure.
like,
Yeah. That's the problem with starting to name names. Who am I leaving out, right? Yeah.
So, all those athletes, but they all like help you to see it kind of through their lens, and you have to be obviously a good communicator because they all roll differently, and you have to kind of like establish trust, and you have to demonstrate like that you know what the hell you're talking about, and you're not a bullshitter, that you can say, look, this is what I know and this is what I don't, and I can help you on that, but I'm not sure if it's going to end the way you want it, or So the athletes teach you a lot. And like in sport, we do look to the top level athletes. They get a lot of the oxygen, and we try to mimic a lot in what they do, which is totally inappropriate for a lot of our customers. So I would say they have an influence, but I try not to let it have an overbearing influence, because I think, look, just running even a small business like this, you can grab, some attention by working with pros, but that can also like be off-putting to a lot of riders who are trying to get into it, and they kind of think like, IOG is just for like the fast kids. Like, I don't think I'll go there. So I think we try to be very like, open about like anybody's mission is our mission, and they are, as you said, contracting us. It's a transaction to help them. And every rider is as important as the next. But the pros are a lot of fun.
We just were in here with a tandem 2 months ago, right?
Absolutely, doing a tandem for a para-athlete, and we'll talk about other causes and people that we help with, and they challenge me too, right? Because you're trying to figure stuff out for tandem athletes and adaptive athletes, and trying to do that. Like, we have not done that before, so then we have to like whole new thing, like how do we approach that? So that's a huge stimulus obviously for us, and for my own craft it's a real good challenge. And maybe one other thing that people would have underestimated is having technology will also improve like your eye. You talked about like you'd kind of have a plan for a rider. I think all of us think about how we like ourselves or want ourselves to be on that start line.
Yeah.
I'm going to be fit, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be healthy, I'm going to be whatever. I think we do the same thing with any project. You want to build a house, you want to do this, you start thinking about what that would look like. We're the same when it comes to our athletes, like what will they need to do, where will they need to be, how will they get there, and you kind of work your way back from that. So I think we put ourselves in the shoes of our athletes straight away, and it makes it very easy then, or it certainly makes it easier to kind of start planning on how we can take that on their behalf.
We talked about that in this bike, that what you were trying to envision what I'm going to be doing on the bike, so that you could have a vision for how we wanted to make the adjustments. So anyway, that was wonderful.
And I think the technology keeps you honest to that. So I guess maybe that's where I was going with there, that the technology can kind of help sharpen your eye. And some days you'll come in and you'll look at the rider and you look at the data and you'll talk to the rider. Something mightn't be clicking, right? And then that's even when I might need to take a step back. And I might trust the data in that regard, or I might listen to the rider, or the rider might actually take a little bit more of a lead on it. And then there's other times where the rider would be like, look, I don't really trust myself on feel, so I'm kind of going to leave it mostly to you, and I can give you broad stroke stuff like it's different. Or the rider might say, like, I notice it's like a saddle height is higher, but I wouldn't say that's worse, but I couldn't tell you if it's better.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's a totally fine answer. We ask open questions. We don't try to lead the witness. Did you feel better?
Right.
All
sure.
that kind of BS, right? So
number one or number two?
It's always a bit of a blend like that. But look, riders have taught us a lot over the years. Technology has taught us a lot over the years, and we're still open to learning.
You're a big part of the community here in Niwot and Boulder and Colorado. I mean, you're kind of You're a well-known entity around the community here, and part of that is obviously your services and the folks that you work with, but some of it's just the community. It's a deeper connection to the community. One of the things that I got to learn about through you was Best Buddies, and I know that there's an event coming up. We had a great thank you for being such a great host at the event that we had here in Niwot just a few weeks ago, actually. Would you let our audience help them understand what Best Buddies is? Because I think that this is actually one of those things. I think this is what makes triathletes and endurance athletes special, is that I think we see that we are so blessed to have all of the gifts that we have just to be able to do this, that I feel like it's almost our duty to help others, whether it's para athletes or whatever. Maybe we just talk about this group.
Yeah, for sure. Like we live in a small community here in Boulder County, and yes, broadly speaking, Colorado is amazing, and all the athletes that we get to work with have a big influence on us, right? And I think to think about like where we are from a fortunate standpoint is that overlap of we can get to do sports that kind of give us a great outlet, when we get to meet people who are also driven and actively introduce friction into their lives to get more out of every day, right? And then you talk about Best Buddies, which is very important to me. This is an organization that help children and adults as they go through their lives who are dealing with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And, we get to put on events to help, grow awareness around that, to raise money. It anchors into friendship walks and cycling and triathlon and hiking, and it can be around the block for an ice cream. Like, it doesn't matter once it involves the community and the spirit of people helping others. So in that regard, it's so easy always to think about like the disabilities and you don't see the abilities, particularly someone who might have autism or could have Downs or something, and they're incredible on a keyboard, or they're the funniest person you've met, or whatever. So it really has given me like a bit of a kick in the ass over the years to understand like how many abilities these people have, the same when it comes to para athletes, and they're not obviously the same. But what I mean is like, what's hidden behind that first kind of impression you get. And it makes you kind of like not, lean into your first impressions as much as you might want to out of being casual, right? So Best Buddies is an incredible organization. We'll have an event in Aspen here, which is not too shabby a location to go to. And we're going to ride Independence Pass, and we're going to introduce more friction, and we're going to overcome it for them, right? And look, for me to be able to help with my abilities, if I have some, I'm wrangling people together and I'm bringing in committed athletes that I have that love getting involved in these events, that know what it's like to train for something, that know what it's like to overcome setbacks, even though there just might be small setbacks. They know them, because an athlete lens is a very important lens. They know that there's only 6 inches in the difference between a pat in the back and a kick in the ass, right? And they're very willing to understand, I see that person struggle, because they've had their own windows in setbacks, disappointments, not making a race start, having a poor performance. And whilst they're all tiny things in the big scheme of life, they do remind you and remind you and show you like that, yeah, people have to overcome things and progress takes place outside the comfort zone and all those things. So I think for me, look, it's been a natural fit to have an overlap of my drive, my passion, our athletes, our clients, helping Best Buddies. It's been great, and it's been very kind of, we'll say, uplifting, and it kind of, the more we do, the more we want to do, and it can feel exhausting at times, but I'm grateful, like you are, for our clients, for our health, for my family, for what we can do and be a small part of that. So I tip my hat to Best Buddies and all the people that work there, and all the families that support children and adults who are overcoming disabilities, and we're there for them. So check it out, Best Buddies, and their cycling challenges, and we have a lot of cool people. Leanda Cave, who's won in Kona and won many world titles, and Cam Worf and Alberto Contador and Bradley Wiggins and Cav and many more that do lean into to helping us on that mission. So I feel it's real purpose, right? And I do have purpose, but that's real purpose. And I like trying to step up my game to help Best Buddies.
Well, it's just, it's such it can be a life-changing thing for those kids, right? And to really matter and to have connection. And
there's many deserving, causes out there, and everybody gets tapped to help here, there, and the other. But, really, like, I would say it's been like later in my life, right, when I really started to help in this area. And we have all valid reasons. I say the word reasons as opposed to excuses, but we have valid reasons, like with raising young kids and getting businesses going and this and that. And look, if there's a time in your life when you can find a few minutes to help, or donate a few bucks or whatever, the surprising thing is how much you get back from it. And I'm grateful that's what it's shown me. And I find the harder I work for Best Buddies or for our clients, the more we get back and the more the overlap is there. So I've got the energy and I've got the drive, so I'll keep doing it as long as I can.
Keep going, buddy. Okay. That's awesome.
Thanks, Rich.
And thanks for doing this with me. Thanks for the fit. Hang around here for just a second because I want to close this out with an ad read, and then we'll wrap up, folks. Hey, listen, I hope you really enjoyed this interview with Ivan, and in the IOG Bike Fitting Consulting Studio. This is amazing. I really should sort of point the camera here around the studio, and including we had a pretty good espresso.
Little bougie on the espresso for sure.
Awesome. Hey, folks, thanks for joining us today. Before we wrap up, I want to just give a shout out to our show sponsor, Vespa Power Endurance. Helps you tap into clean, steady energy so you can stay strong, focused, and in the zone longer. Vespa is not a fuel, but it's actually a metabolic catalyst. It shifts your body to use more fat and less sugar as your fuel source. Check it out. We've got a link here in the show notes. The discount code is G2G, Vespa15. The link here will get you 15% off of anything in your cart anytime. Thanks for spending time with us today on the Grit to Greatness Endurance podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow us and leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and YouTube. It helps us reach more athletes just like you. Stay gritty, train smart, and keep chasing greatness. We will see you next week.